Before Paid in Full, before Alpo, before AZ, before Rich Porter, it was a young boy that stamped himself in the game by the name of Donald Johnson. Now, if that doesn't ring a bell, maybe the name L.A. will. Mr. Lennox Avenue himself, hopping off the step at a very young age because he wanted more than the rest of the fellas. An everyday 9-to-5 job is cool and all, but a real hustler knows that you have to have something to sell. L.A. got with friends and they started to sell fake hash. Sometimes it worked, sometimes it got back to them. They would be posted outside of some spots, known for having some good tree, and to catch some of that traffic. It only lasted for so long when dudes started to pick up on it. Everyone was out trying to do it. They would tell their friends would tell their friends until the scheme was completely dead. See, most people quit when plan A doesn't work, but a true hustler knows that it's just the beginning. It's just the beginning of a long journey. Every hustler have to start somewhere. LA got with some good people that put him on some good tree. Here you have it, a young boy in school selling it to his friends. It might be normal now, but it was a little different back in the day. He wanted to reach certain heights and saw what really was popping in the streets. He saw some old fellas carrying wads of cash, and that's what he needed to get that car he always told doo-wop he would get. Now things changed when Don introduced LA to pure fish scale, and LA never looked back. Mac would have LA and doo-wop in the room mixing. The first time around, it would make doo-wop sick to his stomach. They finished putting red tape on the bags, and it was on and popping. That was the beginning of a phenomenal run for LA. From blizzards to 99-degree weather, he knew he had to be outside in the mix to get that paper. He learned the game and took it to the next level. The OGs even respected him. He was way ahead of his time, picking up style from the OGs. From the clothes from AJ Lester's to the jewelry, he was able to get what he wanted. 15 years old, pulling out a nickel any given Sunday, passing it off to his friend like it was nothing. He paid people's rent, lawyer fees, taking on grown man responsibilities, taking grown man risks. He began having a cab driver on standby, driving him around the whole city while he made plays and even on his personal runs. Now, when it came to Rich Porter, he put him in the game pretty early. Even though he put Rich Porter on, he treated him fair. He treated him like a business partner. They was a good team. They kept each other on their toes. Rich wanted to floss like L.A. They would floss together. When L.A. copped a new will, Rich copped something to keep up with him. Well, he went to go finance it, but it was still clean. But yeah, they was good for each other. Rich always would tell L.A. to stay off the rooftop. L.A. was like a mentor to Rich Porter. Another good friend was doo-wop. L.A. really needed doo-wop in his corner. Now, if L.A. would have listened to half of the things doo-wop said, things would have went way different for L.A. None if you haven't already, go check out doo-wop's book, Seeds of the Game. It's a good read, and he teaches you about the culture of Harlem back in the day. Now, let's talk about what a true hustler is, because a lot of people will call someone a hustler just because they sell drugs. A drug is going to sell itself. It's about how far a person is willing to take it to reach certain heights, getting up early in the morning, taking those 5-hour drives. L.A. was a true hustler. If he saw any of his workers slacking or being lazy, he'll get out there himself and get things cracking. He would take money if it was short because something was better than nothing. This man was a true trendsetter. He was the first one in the hood to rock butters at the time. He made everyone want dirt bikes when he would come through the hood willingly. He was the only young bull in the hood with his own wheels. He turned heads when he flew down the street, being the first one to come through with the system blasting. It was over when he copped the Saab 900 Turbo. He even would leave the price tag on a car to let people know how he was carrying it. He engaged in friendly competition when he told his friend doo-wop to try to get 100,000. He wasn't the only one that could stunt, though. He treated everyone around him fly. He had his baby mom pushing a red Porsche, wasn't even old enough to drink or drive, in and out of dealerships with straight cash. Now, the reason why I had so many doubts on calling his experience a downfall is because he was a kid. Kids don't have downfalls. He was learning life at an early age. He was a kid trying to get fly and be able to buy fly clothes, sneakers, jewelry. That's what put him in a grown man game in the first place. That's what put most people in a grown man's game. But with him being so young and experiencing all the ups and downs in the drug game, it only creates a well-seasoned hustler. See, Ellie was a flashy dude, and we all know what comes with that, a mouthpiece. He had a vicious mouthpiece. Now, we all know that caused them to get into many fights. He talked, but he damn sure could back it up. It's cool to talk your shit, but you have to be careful who you offend. Jealousy is a real thing. Jealousy could kill you. We've heard many stories. You have to watch what you say and watch what you show around certain ones. It's sad, but a lot of people take kindness for weakness. And that was LA's problem. He gave the people that didn't appreciate it. He put guys in position that didn't deserve it. He was bringing so many dudes into the circle, the crew became watered down. With all the snakes and new faces, it takes away from what the crew was originally built off of. Loyalty, structure. Everything was genuine. Guys were coming in eating with a crew that didn't starve. There was a couple of guys that took advantage and waited for the right time to cross LA. See, LA had a driver he used to take care of and paid him very well to be on standby, like we talked about earlier. LA looked out for the man in many ways. Just like I said, he was the LA driver, so he basically knew all of his moves. As he's driving LA around the city, he's listening to everything that comes out of his mouth. He's watching how he conduct business, who he's dealing with. One day, LA left his keys in the back of the car, and the driver saw the right opportunity to take the keys. He damn near knew LA's every move, so he ended up going into his apartment, taking some money and jewelry. Now, when LA finds out, there wasn't any gunplay involved, but they definitely put hands and feet on the guy. Now, coming up, LA and doo-wop used to hustle for Don Mack, the brother of a guy named Ron Mack. Ron Mack was coming home from prison, and he couldn't believe that the young workers were in position. He couldn't believe LA was the man and didn't think he was supposed to be in that position. He was like, who the hell let this happen? He had no choice but to get work from the young bulls. So he didn't like the fact that he was the worker at this time. And he couldn't stomach the fact that he needed them young bulls to progress. So there were times where he didn't pay, and a lot of guys stopped him for that reason, but LA was still trying to help him. LA didn't know at that time that he was helping the enemy. It's crazy how the person that you help is the same person that waits for you to fall. It happened to me, it'll happen to you, and it will happen again if we're not careful. See, LA ended up giving Ron Mack his connect, and it offended a lot of people. Guys in his crew couldn't understand that move, but couldn't do anything about it but just sit and watch the disaster waiting to happen. He put Ron on, and just like that, he was a boss overnight. You would think a guy in this position would be thankful, right? Wrong. In his head, them young bulls owed him that. He had LA formula down to a T. He knew all his plays, drop-off spots, the whole dime. He was the one that introduced LA to his baby mom, so he was pretty much locked in. Now, let me tell you about this dude, Ron, man, because this dude was off the hook. Now, he started to set up shop across from the same spots LA was working. So he started taking all of his money. Now, he would tamper with all LA workers, and he would give them work to move behind LA's back. Now, it would eventually slow down LA's money. Now, when LA finally started to peep what was going on, he got his connect to cut him off completely. See, that was a crazy loss for Ron because he couldn't go anywhere else for work because he owed so many people in the streets. He even owed the connect at the time. Now, Ron was stuck and he couldn't get $1 from the streets. His money became low, and you already know how dudes start to carry it when the money's gone. They grabbed the ski mask and gun. His cars, cribs, and women slowly disappeared. He had nothing to lose. See, when you're down, your mind starts to wander, and you try to find the easiest ways to come up. He used the information he had on LA to get something, and that started with home invasion. Now, not only did they rob his mother's house, but they put their hands on her. LA wasn't having that. He was riding around Harlem 3 cars deep looking for answers. He finds out who it was because the neighbor pointed out Ron Mack in a few pictures that LA showed her. See, LA's biggest mistake was telling everyone what was going on. Word got back to Ron Mack and it pretty much gave him the heads up that LA was on his heels. All it did was to give him time to prepare. LA ended up putting 10 grand on Ron Mack's head, but law enforcement got the Mack before hitters would. Ron Mack was behind bars, but not the others that broke into LA's mom's house. The others was walking around Harlem like it was good and sweet. Like they didn't respect LA at all. Now, LA Rich and them caught one of the guys with bullets, but he had a vest on and started to fire back. Both sides exchanged shots until LA and them broke out. Now, once gunplay's involved, there's no turning back. That beef played a big part of LA's downfall, as there isn't anything good about it. It rushes you behind bars or into a casket. It affects his business as well as his friends. It was too hot, prices were dropping, and crack was just hitting the market. He lost a lot of money, so much that he had to borrow 10 grand from a good friend, doo-wop. A month later, it was back to the program. Money was coming in and things were looking great. All of his enemies were behind bars and he started to get more and more comfortable ignoring the warnings of friends telling him to lay low because the beef ain't over. The streets is always watching. The night he took off his bulletproof vest, he slid right to the rooftop by himself. He was having a good old time, and he could finally be a kid forgetting about all the BS. By then, he already made his mark in Harlem. He already was stamped. All the girls knew who he was. Brucey B shouted him out on the mic. Now, that's the real paid in full, the youngest to ever do it. Now, the night was ending and he ran into a couple fellas he knew, and they played the let out for a little bit. They busted up for a little bit before they head out. The whole time, Ellie was being watched by the same guy him and Rich shot it out with months earlier. They waited for a good time to let off shots. The shots went off and L.A. ran with the crowd, but it was too late. The hitters was headed into his direction and let him have it. L.A. walked to his car filled with bullets, but he was too weak to stand on his feet, falling against the car. Two friends noticed L.A. and helped him into the vehicle to take him to the hospital. A wounded L.A. kept saying he couldn't die that night because it was his mother's birthday, and he wanted to give her that mink coat. Donald L.A. Johnson lost his life at the age of 19 on his mother's birthday to gun violence. The drug game have a lot of exciting stories, but the very last story is never as fun. L.A. was a trendsetter, risk taker. His story gives you the motivation to keep going. It was one of Harlem's biggest losses. A lot of his friends and a lot of people that dealt with him paid his mother a visit. Some left money, but some friends came to collect. Rich Porter ended up paying for L.A.'s funeral. He would stop by to take his stash and continue to run L.A.'s operation. Rich wasted no time spending the money buying all types of cars and jewelry. If you asked him, he was the next man up. Rest in peace to all the young brothers that lost their lives. Thanks for tuning in tonight. Subscribe if you're new, leave a like and a comment, and check out my other videos. Y'all be safe out there. I'm out.